Hi there. I'm here to show you today how to replace a background image from your photos. So as an example, we are going to be taking a photo that Melissa took of me as a player playing ice hockey, and I'm going to take my playing picture and move it over into another photo. So let's take a peek at what we're talking about here. So I've got this photo here of myself that Melissa took. I want to put myself into the action on this one right here. And hopefully the end result from this demonstration will look like that. So let's go ahead and take a step and just go into how we do it. So there's a few, I'm just going to switch over here to the main screen. There are a few tools that I've used over the years with Photoshop in particular. And so to start out with, we'll just go and we'll move over to our photography workspace. And originally, I used to just work exclusively with the Polygon Lasso tool because I could select an outline of a person fairly quickly with that. And most of my photos were low resolution, and that used to not be such an issue. But now people need photos to be higher resolution for printing and for the new media, such as streaming to your TV or the newer phones with a higher DPI. So we do have another tool built in now, and that is kind of um, I believe it's the object selection tool. So let's go and take a look at the other option though, which is a quick selection tool. A quick selection tool will allow you to simply drag over top of what you want selected, and it will try to pick out within the color range most of the object. And you can just, stop clicking and go ahead and click some more and just drag it out. And if you find that something is not being selected, you're able to continue to drag and drop over it. And then to unselect, you choose your alternate key and you drag over the parts you don't want. That usually has to do with, the background that you want removed. So there you can see this could be a little cleaner, could be a nicer way to do it. And we'll see what Adobe Photoshop's AI can do to help us with the object selection. So I'm going to do a Control D to unselect everything. We're just going to come over here to the object selection tool, and we'll just drag around the object I want to select. And Photoshop tries to figure out what I was intending to use. So you can see it did come up with a little bit more than I wanted. So we could use the Alt key again and drag over that portion of it to tell it not to choose that. And it does a pretty good job. So we're going to kind of add in the pieces that it missed. And so the good thing about having a skill set with, selecting things manually is that you can come in and clean this up later. So, this kind of does a lot of the work for me, and that I don't have to worry about dealing with it later. So I'm just going to speed this up and kind of continue selecting until I've got it done. Okay, I have, for the most part, selected a lot of what I want in this, and the object would be to now clean this up a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of copy this, just take a copy of it. I'm going to put it on a surface here I can play with later. You can see it it's a little choppy. There's still some missing elements in here, such as the shoulder pads. So we're going to continue to go on with this and select some more. So I'm going to use now my Polygon Lasso tool, and I'm going to, zoom in, and I'm going to just click to add. I'm going to hit my shift to add, and I'm just going to kind of select the parts that I want to keep. Okay, I think I have a lot of what I want here selected. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more of it just to ensure that I get enough of it. So I'm just going to come up to select, and then I'm going to do modify and expand. I'm going to expand by um, about 2 pixels just to make sure I got all my edges. You'll see some white on the edges in the selection. And that's fine because we're going to have white hopefully in the background of where we're dropping it. Where we have yellows, we'll learn how to trim that out later. So I'm going to just copy that to my clipboard, and going to take my original image, and I'm just going to make myself a new layer, and I'm just going to paste my skater on there right now. So we want to kind of match the size. So I'm just going to drag it up and expand the size a bit. So now we need to work on removing the other player because he's really starting to bother us. So how we're going to do that is we are going to do very similar to what we did before. We're going to do a object selection tool. We're just going to try to select this player. Did a pretty good job of it. Now there are some more in here. Let's just take a peek and see if it's enough to remove this person. So we'll do a select and oh, maybe it's edit. Yes, sorry, edit content aware fill. What that'll do is it'll try to go and grab most of what's behind him and blend it in. So you can see that's not a great fit because it has duplicated some of the ice in locations I didn't want, and I also missed my stick. So I'm going to hit cancel, and I'm just going to go and clean up my selection a bit using our Polygon Lasso tool, especially because straight lines are the easiest. This is one of those projects, the removal is easier because you really don't mind removing a little bit of his surrounding environment, but you just don't want to miss any of him. So let's go back and expand our selection a little bit so we go beyond the edges and make sure we get some of his, his edges out of there that we had missed before. So let's go back to edit, or excuse me, that would be go to select, and we're going to modify and grow it or expand it. In this case, we're going to go say 3 pixels just to get a little bit further out. And now we'll try to do our content aware removal. So edit, content aware fill, and he's practically disappeared. Perfect. So I'm not going to mess with any of the opacity settings, and I'm going to output to a new layer. So I hit plus and apply. So now I have an outline. I still have my selection. I'm going to control D to unselect that. So we got, here he is with it, here he is without it. If there's anything we need to clean up, now's the time. However, when we add our player in, we may just cover up some of the ice that we didn't need to worry about. So let's just take a peek. We'll need to clean up this area here and some of his skate that I missed. So let's go ahead and do that right now. This um, background is actually the outline of the player, which is now in the paint. So you can see we're really hiding the player. So we're going to have to background fill this a bit here. Before we do that, let's just merge these two. So merge the two layers so that we don't have multiple layers to deal with. We'll kind of continue to finish this shadowing out. And we'll try to clean up this area as well. Kind of content aware fill did a pretty good job. What I don't like about it is that, especially where there's a recognizable logo, that makes it a little more difficult. So we're just gonna come in and we'll sample this blue line here and just move our cursor around to kind of see where it would fill in, where it looks good, and just click. You can just kind of continue to do that. There we go. I think we probably need to do it here as well. All right, let's see what it looks like with my guy in there. Looks like he's got some problems too. So let's go ahead and clean those up with our Polygon Lasso tool. All right, so what we want to do is clean up the rest of him, and you could come over here and like use your eraser tool. However, I find that that tends to be very choppy, and we're going to do some smoothing on him anyway. So let me just do my final cleanups, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so there's a little bit of the shadow, which we'll clean up in a moment, that I want to fix so that it looks like the player is actually using the same shadow as the other player. Sometimes you just need to find a better spot for it, but then we lose our puck, don't we? So let's go ahead and just fix that by preemptively kind of putting our player where we want them, and then we'll just hide them there, and we'll go grab this puck and we'll just move it around a little bit. So let's grab this object selection tool, and we'll just copy that, and we'll paste it. So let's wake up my other player, and we'll just move this down in front. There we go, a little bit of hiding never hurt. Okay, so the last thing I would normally do in this situation, aside from really fix this logo, is to kind of fix the very sharp edges we see on this player. What we don't want is it to look sharp like he was photoshopped in, which is kind of what we're doing. So what I'm going to do is be sure I'm selected on that, and I'm going to use my magic wand tool to make a selection all the way around it. There it is. Sorry. So I'm going to select everything except my player, and I can actually see that I've brought in some ice from the other environment, and you can see, there's plenty of it. So that part we don't really have to worry about it being too crisp. But where it was really crisp looking was where I had to remove the yellow and green from the boards. And you see I've got some more right here. So let me fix that real quick, and then uh, underneath his arm, and then we'll finish what we're doing here. All right, let's take away some of that sharpness. So we'll use our magic wand tool, and we'll select everything but him. And then we want to select just his edges so that we can blur his edges a little bit. So we've got a selection on everywhere around it. We're going to expand that selection so that that allows it to kind of overlap him just a bit. And we'll just go by 2 pixels just to pull in enough to get into his uniform. So this edge of his uniform that is on the outside, that's what we're going to blur. And we could try 1 pixel. Let's try doing 1 pixel. Select, modify, expand by 1 pixel. It really depends on your resolution of your photo. So I've got just enough. I'm going to do a Gaussian blur on that now. So it'd be a filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I've got a preview here for it, and we can kind of take a peek around and zoom in, see how it is working. By when you drag, it's jagged. When you release, it blurs. So I think that pretty much cleaned up his edges. So let's hit OK. Control D to unselect him, and there we have it. We have a photoshopped player. If I were gonna, again, do any more cleanup, I'd probably expand the shadow down below near his feet, and I would probably clean up the edges of the stick to leave less white around it, since it's not necessary to have it. But that is the down and dirty fast way to do it. The more detailed you are, the better it's going to be. So my final output was this expectation, and this is kind of what I have. Maybe I should grow him a bit from this beginning to this end. Hope this helped. You have a good day.